Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. You know, it's been an interesting week interviewing several different people from sort of Main Street retail and restaurants, both in Port Credit as well as in downtown Toronto. We've had the proprietor of Spice Lounge in Port Credit, of the Crooked Q in Port Credit, of the Cabin Barbershop and Haberdashery, and now I want to introduce you Tony Pampena, who is the owner of Fired Up, a great restaurant in Port Credit. They have this wonderful tomahawk steak that I get every once in a while when I go there. Tony, how has COVID-19 impacted you and your business?
Well, listen, COVID-19's hit every business, restaurants, dry cleaners, limousines, anybody in the hospitality business, and not just in the hospitality business. You know, we're all working in uncharted territories and uncharted waters right now. So we're trying to recreate things and reinvent ourselves. But, you know, every time you try and reinvent yourself, you know, you got a new obstacle. You know, the idea, and I appreciate what the governments are trying to do, both federal, municipal, and provincial. You know, let's focus on patios, and patios is great during the summer. You know, I think anyone who had the luxury of a patio did okay.
And you were able to almost double the size of your patio, if not more, frankly.
Yeah, you know what? Thanks to the municipality of Mississauga, you know, they extended the patio onto the street, took away a few of the parking spots, and that was great during the summer. You know, and listen, Mother Nature worked in all our favors. We had great weather, so that worked favorably to all of us. But again, I want to reiterate that, you know, we're very fortunate. You know, not all restaurants have patios, right? So, you know, for those that didn't have patios, they got hurt really hard. If you weren't in prime locations, like, you know, being in Port Credit obviously is a hot spot of the city. So, you know, it works favorable for all of us that are in that very touristy spot. But, you know, reality is, you know, the cold weather is upon us now. So you see everybody rushing, and the focus is, you know, in John Tory, everyone's talking about, let's get these outdoor cafe patios going. You know, reality is no one wants to sit outside. It's cold. Like, if we're fighting COVID, let's be real here. You know, do you really want to go out and dine out on a patio in the cold and risk getting a cold, the flu, arthritis, or anything like that? Because, you know, that's the reality, right? And now we're faced with having 10 seats in your location. And to be honest, 10 seats doesn't help cover the bills.
Are you opening up with the 10 seats?
Yeah, we are. We're opening up on the weekend, but, you know, it's cost prohibitive for me to open up during the week because you run the risk. And we saw it for the first time. And it's a humbling experience. I'm going to be honest, on a Friday night and you've been to the restaurant, and you see how busy that restaurant is. And, you know, we had during that night, 17 people in that restaurant. Now you think about it. Hey, listen, 10 spots, that's all you can fill. We had 16, 17 people, but I don't even want to tell you what our sales are, right? And it's humbling. And then you look at the fact that we're a small restaurant. You know, if you're one of those large franchise restaurants, there's definitely no way you can open, because the costs are prohibitive of opening up, because you got to go hire cooks, you got to get the place cleaned, you got wait staff, you got bar staff, you just can't do it, right? So unless you're an owner operator and you're cleaning your own plates like I was doing, that's the only way you're going to stay alive.
You did some takeout?
Yeah, so we're doing some takeout, but the challenge is, you know, some of the restaurants and, you know, some of the folks that you mentioned as well, we're not necessarily takeout places. When you think of your traditional takeout, you're taking away from the pizza places, the shawarma places, all those type of those places are your traditional takeout. You know, it's very hard, and you compromise the quality of the food, you know. Like, you know, at our place, like you mentioned, you can get a tomahawk steak, you can get a rack of lamb. Those aren't things you typically would want through takeout, because by the time you cook it and it hits someone's plate at their house, it's going to be cold, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the challenges. So we had to adapt, right? So during the summer, even before the patio season kicked off, you know, we had to change our menus per se to try and make it more takeout friendly by, you know, creating fish and chip combos and sausage on buns and things that we normally would never have in our restaurant. We had, and it kept us busy going up until the launch in the last week of June. But the challenge here is this, you know, I think people are going back to the way it was in March, April, where, you know, they want to start cooking again because it's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah. Yep. What do you think of the government's response?
Listen, I'll tell you one thing. Regardless of political party, I think they all mean well. I think they're all in uncharted territory. I think every night they go to sleep and say, "What question am I going to get tomorrow that I'm not going to be able to answer?" I think they mean well, but the communication is not gone so well. And what I mean by that is, they've launched the extension of the rental, the SERS. I think that's what it's called, the extension
But
of
it's
the
changed
rent.
now such that it's no longer given to the landlord, it's now given to the tenant.
It's given to the tenant, right? But the
Is that
challenge is
better?
that, well, in my case, I have a great landlord. So, my landlords worked with us right from the beginning, but I think it's all about communication. Like when we went down in March, and I never forget that day on March 16th, I communicated with my landlord the next day and I said, "Listen, we're going to be in some murky waters right now. Knowing what I know today, I never thought we'd be sitting today having a conversation on November the 17th talking about, I thought, it'd be back to business by now." But reality is this, is, to someone like me that's got a good relationship with your landlord, it's irrelevant to me. But to some of these tenants and landlords, because remember, I look at it both ways. I really appreciate the fact that you got to be, you can't be biased here as a restaurant, because some of these landlords, this is how they generate money for their family, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tenants that just walked away and they're paying for this mortgage. So some of those guys are going to get hurt. And then
So tell me, that's a big concern I've got. What's going to happen to Main Street retail and restaurants like Lakeshore Road in Port Credit? Are we going to have a whole bunch of restaurants that have gone under, a whole bunch of stores that have gone under? Are we going to lose those beautiful, walking, shopping, dining districts in Port Credit and Bloor West Village and the Queensway and in Beaches, Streetsville, et cetera?
Yeah, well, Brian, I think you're 100% dead on there. The challenge is you are going to lose a percentage of that, and unless we get the governments moving fast and forward on getting the rent relief, we're in the middle of November, right? So this rent relief program should have been already in play, and the problem is everyone's pointing the fingers because the municipalities are the lowest on the rung, right? So they're waiting for the province, and the province is waiting for the federal support. So everyone's got to bless this thing, and we're in the middle of November. And realistically, this should have been already a done deal, because everyone needs to focus on, okay, am I concerned about whether I'm going to close down this month? Because typically the holiday season is one of restaurants or most retailers' busiest season.
Black Friday is usually the start of when they go into black.
Oh yeah, and listen, and definitely that ain't happening. A lot of people are really concerned about what's going to take place. And listen, everyone's got their own feeling of this, and I'll tell you just my 2 cents worth. This regional approach, in my opinion, doesn't fly. It doesn't work, because I always say this: COVID has no geographical boundaries. And what should have happened was, if they were going to make a decision, and rightfully or wrongfully, right, you got to leave it to the medical practitioners. If they make the statement that says, you know what, it's not safe, because everyone's acting right now because when we thought we were at 300, 400, we were concerned, and they projected that it was going to get to 1,000. We blew right past that 1,000. Now we're into the 12 to 1,500, and they're speculating 3,000 to 4,000 to 6,000. Okay, so at what point in time do we actually say, okay, let's go into a lockdown, let's get hurt for 28 days, but then let's rip off the bandage and let's get back to reality and get the business? Because the challenge here is this wave that they're doing from the regional only hurt us. When they shut down Toronto and Peel and allowed York to stay open and Halton, what happened? 1 week later, York got shut down, and you can see York's numbers popping up. Then Halton was left open. You could drive 6 minutes down the road on Lakeshore and cross Winston Churchill and have a bite to eat, get your hair cut, get everything done on the west side of that street, but on the east side, everything's locked down. That doesn't make sense to me, right? So, I don't think they thought that through, and realistically, it hurts everyone. Shut it down, and it includes us as well, right? But at least we know we can get back to business, start forecasting, start talking about what we're doing for December, because based on what's transpiring now, we are going to lose the holiday season, because the holiday season is where you get all your Christmas parties, holiday parties, all your events, people getting out just to mix and mingle. That's not happening now because there's all this level of uncertainty.
Tony from Fired Up, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for your
Fine as
views.
always.
If people want to check out your restaurant, either to get one of those 10 spots or to buy some takeout or come when we open up, tell us where you're located and what your website is.
www.firedupbarbecue.com, 89 Lakeshore Road East, 905-990-3473. Come on by. You'll always see me there on the weekend. And like I said, every customer of ours is treated like a VIP because honestly, we wouldn't be where we are without our customers.
Tony, do you remember the Obama line?
What's that?
Ready? Fired up?
Ready to go. Are we
Awesome.
fired up? We're ready to go.
That's Tony Pampena. Is that correct?
Tony Pampena.
Pampena, I apologize. Tony Pampena, who's the owner of Fired Up down in Port Credit. We're going to take a break for some messages. I'm going to come back and introduce you to one of my favorite restaurants in the Greektown, in the Broad and the Danforth area, called Relish, which has really been hit because live entertainment has been hit just as much, if not more, than the restaurants have been hit. Anyway, thanks, Tony, for joining us. We're going to be back in just a minute. Stay with us.